This Clean Harbors 250 Betting Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your first deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Trucks. It is, of course, the truck episode. Finally, I know we're pretty much a day late than we normally do the truck episode, but
a lot of times it's on Thursdays. So.
Actually, yeah, because then it's
usually it is. Yeah, so it is on the normal day. It's just everything's fucked up this week, right?
It just feels that way, doesn't it? It just feels as if we're having a bunch of crazy stuff go on because obviously the break kind of bit into everything, and now we're coming back from the break with only 2 series. So it's like, are we really coming back? But yes, we are racing this weekend.
That's right. We're back. We're excited. Yeah, it's Truck Series. We finally got the full thing of odds. We ended up pivoting and doing the Truck DFS show yesterday, which we generally don't do ahead of the betting episode, but we didn't have the top 5s. We didn't have the top 3s. I'm glad we waited because it's rough out there this week, Rod. And top 3s and top 5s are a majority of my card because we don't have a ton of options. But that's okay. It's how it goes. And despite we say that a lot, but it seems like we have a good bit of success in the Truck Series for sure. So I think that found some great stuff like usual, and I'm excited for it.
Over the off season, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking to some of these sports books. I feel like I don't know if there's just not enough action for them to want to put a bunch of stuff up, or if it's just a lot of research that they don't want to do. I want to know.
And like on a week where there's no Xfinity Series, like shouldn't you think you would be getting more action on the trucks just due to the fact that there is an Xfinity? They're kind of moved up into that second slot on Saturday. You would think and hope that would be the case, but
load us up. That's all I'm asking. Just load us up. I mean, whatever. Jessica's in the chat. Hello. Hi, guys. And yes, trucks. That is absolutely right.
Trucks are her favorite, I do believe. So she's excited for the Truck Series, as am I. I just love the Truck Series, Rod.
I do too. Again, this is what we have a lot of success on because, well, first and foremost, the margin of victory for these guys is very narrow. But even still, we do tend to find some good values. We do tend to find some good drivers that you haven't necessarily heard of. We brought a lot up yesterday during the DFS episode, so hopefully you listen to that. Can't really translate too many of them over here into the betting episode, given that we don't get very many top 10 chances, but
I found a way to work a couple of them
you
in.
got
Don't
a
worry.
couple. That's fine. I know that, and I'm happy about that. So we'll see how those pan out. But we'll definitely get to all of those in the Clean Harbors 250. But let me tell you first about the Sports Gambling Podcast. They launched their 32 NFL team previews, and as a bonus, each team preview is going to have a special code word. If you submit the 32 code word phrase, you got to be listening to all 32 to catch that phrase. Then you can be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. You can subscribe to the main show, the Sports Gambling Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, including this one. And of course, as always, on the SGPN app. All right, Cody, it is the Clean Harbors 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. We are set for, drum roll please, 250 laps around this 0.750 mile paved track for 187.5 miles. That's going to be a very short race, to be honest with you. 250 seems like a lot, but not around this.
250 is a lot of laps for the Truck Series, but yes, the laps obviously tick off very quickly, being at just 3/4 of a mile. So it will go fast, but I'm very excited for it. John Little checking in. Let's go. Oh, how I've missed the trucks. Yes, we have missed the trucks too. But yeah, this should be a really good race. I believe, are both these races this weekend under the lights?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't even paid attention to the start.
Yeah, so 6:30 Central Time. So 7:30 for the Truck Series, which is great. And then the Cup Series is a 6:00 p.m. So it'll transition into the lights. So I like that little Saturday night racing. That's going to be pretty exciting. Hopefully I will be, I don't even know what time the baseball game is. Hopefully I'll be able to catch some of this Truck Series race after we're done there. But it's just too bad I'm not a little close, going to the East Coast this weekend. Too bad I'm not a little closer to Richmond, swing over and catch the races, but that's all right. We do have a couple of small news and notes, Rod, if you'd like.
Of course I'd like. Please fill me in.
First of all, Spire has made the announcement. Michael McDowell's crew chief, Travis Peterson, is going to move from Front Row, where he currently is with Michael McDowell, to Spire next year to reunite or stay with, rather, I guess, Michael McDowell over there in Spire. So that eliminates McDowell as one of the drivers that would be under Rodney Childers. Of course, we know he's going to Spire there as well. This is another Ford crew chief leaving Ford and going over to Chevrolet. Another guy that's likely going to get his information shut off. We've already figured McDowell's probably got his info shut off. I would guess now we'll see that with him as well. The 34 team's already started to kind of take a dip. I expect that dip to just kind of continue and fizzle out to end the season. So keep that in mind as you go along. If you're considering playing Michael McDowell, I'd be a little more hesitant because of those couple of reasons, obviously with the driver and the crew chief, both announced to Chevy next year. I think that's going to hurt some things. It's a tricky situation because you've got things like, Rodney Childers has announced he's going to Chevy, but his driver, Josh Berry's going to stay in the Ford camp, going to the Wood Brothers. So like you expect Berry to still kind of get some stuff. Maybe Childers doesn't get as much. Childers has a big playbook to fall back on too. So I think it would hurt a team like this a little bit more. Travis Peterson, a good crew chief, but not as experienced, of course, as a guy like Rodney Childers. So I kind of expect that 34 to just continue a downward trend for the rest of the season.
What's crazy is that these guys, they want to go out with momentum. They want to go out doing the best they can. But it's funny that the teams and the manufacturers even kind of hamstring them on the way out. They're like, you're leaving to go to Chevy? Well, guess what? You go to log into your email and it's like password has been changed.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we want you to finish the season strong for us, but we don't really want to teach you any of the new stuff that you're going to go use against us next year. So they kind of got to walk that fine line. So just it's something like that is pretty notable when it comes to the betting and DFS side of things. So, and then NASCAR announced today that on ovals in wet conditions, teams can now decide when to change wet weather tires for another set of wet weather tires at their discretion under caution. So if you go back to New Hampshire, NASCAR told teams when they could change wet weather tires from wet weathers to new wet weathers. That's not the case. Now, if we're on wet weathers, you want to change your tires, you're free to change to other wet weathers at any time. They still haven't got to the point of switching from wet weathers to slicks on your discretion, which I would love to see one day. But Bob kind of made a pretty good point. He thinks that's in the future, but we're just not there yet. Big speed differential in those things, could cause big wrecks and whatnot. I don't know, I guess. I mean, a good enough point. I would still like to see the decision be placed on the teams and put that extra element in there, but they will at least be able to change wet weather tires now. So again, kind of the next step in the wet weather tire verse, right? I know that a lot of people don't like these, and it's a progress. We're getting there, and this is kind of the next step in it. So good to see that.
I mean, we kind of saw that play out in Chicago, though, didn't we? Where we had these guys that were staying out.
Yeah, and I think they're a lot quicker to do it on road courses because it's a lot different on a road course than an oval, and you can get away with it there more. So, but yeah, we did see, right? They even let them start the race. Like, you could choose which one you wanted to be on, which was a great step in that direction. It kind of panned out because we got to see different strategies and how it worked for people. So we're getting there. We're not quite there on ovals just yet, but again, this is kind of the next step in. We'll give you we'll loosen the leash a little more, give you a little more freedom. If you don't do anything naughty, we'll give you a little more leash next time.
Well, I don't know about that, man. We know pushing the limits is something NASCAR really loves to do. So I'm curious to see. Yeah, again, as all this stuff plays out, more strategy is not bad. Like, in my opinion, I love all the strategy. Give me a thinking person's game in this instance where, back in the day, way back in the day, you used to put your car out there and you would try all the different things to make it faster. But like, there was not, the different tires as far as compounds are concerned. And I mean, a lot of times you would just go out and you'd run until the gas tank was empty or the tires fell apart, and then you come in. Right now, it's a lot of the stage breaks introduced a different layer of strategy. Now these tire compounds will add a different layer of strategy. And, the more complex this gets, I think the more, I don't want to say the more you can win people over to this, but I feel like
more entertaining. It puts on a better show, which is what we want to see.
Isn't it though? I mean, I know there's people that complain when something new pops up in there, but I'd much rather it be improved than just is.
They really like the days when Lee Petty won and second place was 14 laps down. Those were the good old days of racing, Rod.
Good old days of racing. I don't know any of those days, so I'm okay with that. Like, I'm more they keep changing the rules to get Jimmy Johnson to quit winning. That's where my days began. So gotta love it. All right, we will start talking trucks and we'll start laying out some of our bets. But as always, I want to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'em entries and then go streaking with your clothes on. Thank you very much. If you can get an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000x even. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live now with $15 million in prizes. They just added another college football contest for Best Ball too, so get over there. And you can also use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Just keeps getting better and better and better. So go sign up right now with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. Really hate buying tickets. I absolutely cannot stand buying tickets to anything. It doesn't matter what it is anymore. It's made so difficult. I want to go see my concert. Well, now I've got to go through an app that charges me so many fees just for even looking at what I'm looking at. And then I don't even know if they're real tickets half the time, because when I'm buying them, I don't know if they're from secondhand people or if they're actually from the venue themselves, or if it's from some shady guy in a trench coat opening it up for me and showing me more than I want to see. I don't need all that stress. I don't need all that hassle. Thankfully, Game Time is not like that. Game Time takes away all that stress. You are going to get authentic tickets guaranteed. You're going to get lower prices. You're going to get low fees. And this is made for your phone. So you're not having to have a website up on your phone. And it's just, it's all what you need right where you need it. And you're going to get flash deals. You're going to get zone deals. You're going to get all in prices. No surprises when you check out. Sign me up. And not to mention, you are going to get a picture. Like, you're going to get a picture of what you're going to be looking at when you're sitting in your seat. I can't think of a better way to get tickets. So take all the stress, take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account right now, use code SGPN for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Truck time, truck time, truck time. Let's go. Truck if the track doesn't flood, says Laura. Well,
yeah, it's so I think we're looking pretty good, like at least in the forecast right now. There's not supposed to be any rain Saturday, Sunday, really. Knock on wood. Hopefully that'll happen. Obviously, leading up to that, you hope that things aren't too bad. But it seems like Debbie has lost her aggression and will just be kind of a tropical depression by the time she gets there. So I think things are looking pretty good for us right now, and we're going to hope that remains the case.
Debbie is less aggressive. That's good for Debbie, unless she's a UFC fighter, in which case that's not good. So Debbie, don't lose your aggression in the ring, but please lighten up so we can get a race weekend in for sure. Yes. All right, Cody, as I've said before, this is the Clean Harbors 250. This is the Craftsman Truck Series race on the Richmond Raceway. There are, like you said, not a lot of options this week, but we did find some ones that we liked, and we're going to load those up for you. So, Cody,
yes, we are. Well, let's start with the entry list real quick, Rod. We do have 38 trucks for 36 spots, so 2 drivers will go home. Notables on the entry list: William Sawalich returns in the Tricon number 1 all-star truck. Connor Zilisch, who we're going to talk about here in a minute, is in the Spire Motorsports number 7 truck. Of course, he just signed a deal with Junior Motorsports to be the full-time driver of the 88 car next season, and this kid has a bright future. Connor Jones back in the 66 truck for Thor Sport, and Connor Hall is in the 91 car for McAnally Hilgeman. We talked about him a little bit yesterday on the DFS episode. We will be talking about him more this evening as well. So yeah, that's your notable entry lists. And with that done, Rod, let's get into my first bet, which includes one of those guys, and that is Connor Zilisch. I'm going to take him over Caden Honeycutt, -125 over on Caesars. All in on Zilisch. I think that this kid is one of those kids that is just so fucking talented. He's so fucking good that we're going to see it right off the drop of the bat. Well, can he just come into the Truck Series and have a great race the first time out? Well, let me tell you the story about Ty Gibbs, Rod. He'd never started in the Truck Series. He came into the Xfinity Series for his first career race, kicked everyone's ass 2 ways to Saturday, and won his very first career start. And this is only the Truck Series, which is less competition than the Xfinity Series is currently at this point. It's not a deep roster over in the Truck Series. Zilisch is going to show up. He's going to be fast. He's going to be good. Grew up as a go-kart track, kind of Formula One path, and then veered over towards NASCAR a little more. Just started on ovals in 2022, I think. Like, it hasn't been that long, but he's been really fucking good at them already, tearing up the ARCA Series, tearing up everything that he races in. We saw his one Truck Series start at Watkins Glen, goes out, sits on the pole, way too deep into the turn 1, goes off the track, has a penalty, comes all the way back, has a penalty, comes all the way back again, finishes in 4th. This kid's the real deal. He's in a fast truck in the 7 truck. I think he's going to show up. I think he's going to do well. Caden Honeycutt, we've seen him do pretty solid in that, I don't remember which truck he's in for Nice, but it's been solid. He's in the 45. So when he's been in that one, it's been pretty solid runs, and we've seen Chastain do okay in that as well. If you look back, 33rd place at Nashville, not a great run his last time out. 7th at Charlotte, 4th at Kansas. Great runs there, but those are 1.5 mile tracks. Not exactly comparable to this. Ran 9th place at Martinsville. That's an okay run, and if he finishes 9th at Martinsville this week, great run for Caden Honeycutt. That is not going to beat Connor Zilisch. 12th at Bristol, same story there. It's going to be a good run, and I don't think that Honeycutt's going to have a bad run, but I think Zilisch is going to be a top 5 driver at the end of the day. He's 12-1 to win this race. For his very first career start, the books are not sleeping on Connor Zilisch. I was hoping for a little bit of a bigger number because I would have taken him outright. I think he could win this race. I don't think that that's the most likely outcome. I think that he will be top 5, top 7 at the end of the day. But Zilisch is going to be good. Honeycutt's going to be okay. And that makes me want to take the Zilisch side of things at -125 over Honeycutt over on Caesars.
Honeycutt is one of those guys that I think we benefit more from playing DFS than we actually do betting. And because we don't get a top 10 option, because we don't get Honeycutt in favorable groups or in some of those other situations where we could take him. So it's really only because of that we don't necessarily bring his name up very often in the betting episode, as if only to fade him. But yeah, Connor Zilisch, I'm with you on that one. We talked about him in the DFS episode yesterday, how exciting it's going to be to watch him get a start in the Truck Series, especially in that 7 truck. I mean, that's really what the whole thing is.
He's in such a good truck that we've seen do really well, and he's already done good in it in his one start. And I get that was a road course, and that's kind of his thing, but he's quickly making ovals his thing as well. And I think he's going to show up and impress. And again, we've seen it time and time again this season in the trucks and the Xfinity Series. Some of these guys, even in their first or second starts, can have really good finishes in good cars on tracks that they're good at. And he's been racing some short track stuff. He's only 17, Rod. He's not even old enough to race on the big tracks yet. But he's been tearing it up this season. And I think that's going to continue with this Truck Series start.
Utterly impressive. Speaking of guys going and making a jump to a series and making good starts in their first few starts, I give you Tay Gray. Tay, our shifty official beer of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Look, here's the thing. Taylor Gray is in a matchup right now against William Sawalich, -115 over on Caesars for the Taylor Gray side of it. It's both sides, or -115, but I'm taking Taylor over William Sawalich. We love William Sawalich. Like last season in the Truck Series, he did okay, right? He had a couple of 3 top 10 finishes in that one truck, a 9th at Martinsville, a 10th at Richmond, and then a 6th at IRP. However, in his 3 starts this season, they haven't necessarily been all that great, and they've been all on short tracks, right? Bristol, 21st place finish. Martinsville, 26th place finish. He had a 12th place finish at IRP. That's great. But when you're going up against a guy like Taylor Gray, who 8 top 10 finishes in 15 starts this season, that's going to be a tough hill to climb, especially the fact that you're a part-time driver in this truck. Anyways, we know Tricon one truck is fast, but we also know that Taylor Gray is ridiculously fast as well. Now, I will preface this I will bookend this by saying that Taylor has fallen on some rough times lately, right? 13th at North Wilkesboro, 12th at Charlotte, 30th at the Gateway, 31st, 4th at Nashville even, 4th at Pocono, though that's a good run, and then a 16th at IRP. Hasn't been that flurry of top 10 finishes that we're used to seeing out of Taylor. But we've had a break. We've had a couple of weeks to catch our breath. Trucks have had feels like a year to catch their breath and to get right? So you're giving Taylor a lot of time to spend time in the sims, to spend time in the garage, to get prepped for this particular race, right? And I feel like this is going to be an opportunity for him to essentially get right and to do what he needs to do. I'm looking because I've got tons of tabs open. He does have a 6th place finish, Taylor Gray, on this track in 2022. He started 24th, finished 6th. And then last season, he had a 14th place finish after a 19th place start. So, again, nothing major to write home about. But for William Sawalich, I do believe that he's gonna do well. Just a lot like what Cody's argument was earlier about Caden Honeycutt. He's gonna do well, right? He's gonna be an okay driver at the end of the day. It's just not that he won't get the same type of finish that Taylor Gray gets, in my opinion. So he does have one start here at Richmond, does William Sawalich, like I said, that 10th place finish after a 3rd place start. So give me Taylor Gray -115 over William Sawalich.
This one's a tough one. I don't know that I'm completely sold on it. I'm going to make a case for Gray in a little bit. It's more number related than anything. A little bit harder to trust Sawalich. We saw a good run last time he was out, but the previous couple of races to that were not very starts. So he's definitely a little harder to trust than Gray, who we can pretty much rely on a week-to-week basis for the most part. So I don't mind that part of it. I think this is kind of a coin flip matchup. I looked at it. I couldn't pick a side, so glad you chose a side, and I'll ride with you on it.
I can't go against the shifty. It's like I said, it's the official beer of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. So I had to put him in one of the bets this weekend at least.
There you go. I like it.
All right, where are we going next?
Next up for me, Rod, Connor Hall. We talked about him yesterday. Going to go back to him here. Top 5 number is +750 over on Bet365. Again, not a lot of information out there on Connor Hall. This is his first career Truck Series start. He is going to be in that 91 McAnally Hilgeman truck. Jack Wood's kind of been in that truck a lot, not done a ton with it, but Zane Smith's been in that truck. He's done well with it. It's the same truck as the 19 that Christian Eckes is constantly just killing everyone in. It's the same truck as Tyler Ankrum, who we've seen had good runs this season as well. So much like that Spire truck that Zilisch is in, Connor Hall is in a good truck as well. Connor Hall, as we talked about yesterday on the DFS show, the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Point Series national champion last season. 26 years old. He won 18 of 27 races to win that title. That is an unreal winning percentage. I mean, that's 2/3 of the races for that championship that he won. Absolutely incredible. He's a Cars Tour guy as well. And again, we've seen it enough times this year. These late model guys that run these short flat tracks all the time, that's all this guy does nonstop all the time. They come in and get in a good car or a good truck, and boom, they show up. This is their type of track. If it's Charlotte, if it's Kansas, a bigger track they're not used to, we tend to fade them a little bit, right? And that's kind of worked out for us with Carson Quapples of the world, stuff like that. But these guys on these short flat tracks, Carson Quapples, the Butterbean Queens, all these guys we've seen do it have done really well. I think that Hall is going to do well as well. But yeah, top 5 at plus 750, really good number for him. So give me Connor Hall, top 5 plus 750.
So, and we've talked about the equipment. This is all, I mean, a lot of this is just about equipment at this point, because if you put some of these guys in, I don't know, some of the lower tier trucks, we're not talking about them, right? But we're talking about them in high level equipment they're going to go out and run well. So I wish we had top 10s. So I really do. I would love top 10s.
Yeah. I mean, a top 10 would be an absolute hammer for this guy, because you'd be getting still a good number. And I think a top 10 is where he will run. And you even saw it, was it Luke Fenhouse last time out at IRP with, the ThorSport truck, which is a good truck, short track guy. Boom, he shows up. We sort of missed the boat on that one and probably should have paid more attention to it. But yeah, these guys this is their bread and butter. They're so good at it. And we constantly see it, them show up and do well. I think that's going to be the case again. And Zilisch, they're not cutting us a break, right? His numbers are very, very high up there. But with Hall, again, he's got no national series starts as far as NASCAR goes or anything like that. They don't really know what to expect. That's why we're going to dig down here and take advantage of that.
Indeed. My brother checking in saying lots of Connors. Any chance Caesars is laying odds on an all Connor top 5? Can you parlay top 5s? I don't know if you could parlay both. Connors
you can on DraftKings. You might be able to on Caesars too. So yeah, you could work that out. We got Connor Jones, Connor Hall, Connor Zilisch. Yeah, there you go. You could do a 1, 2, 3 trifecta or whatever they call that for Connors.
An exacta or a
which really I like 2 of the guys. Connor Jones will drag you down a little bit, but
that would lower the curve.
You got to parlay the Connor Hall. Actually, okay, yeah. Now I'm thinking. Go ahead, Rod. You move on. I'm going to play with this.
All right, when we come back, we're gonna give you our favorite
parlay loading,
our Connor parlay of the day. But let's tell you first about Rhythm. Football season is here, as you could tell from what I was wearing now. Earlier what I was wearing. Football season's here. College football and the NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model, or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide what stats matter most to you, and Rhythm builds a custom model around that, or just let Rhythm and its predictive model do the heavy lifting. Rhythm uses AI projections from MIT data scientists, and Rhythm already has you covered for NFL Week 1 and college football Week 0. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Just imagine the regret that you're going to feel if you win your office survivor pool, but you didn't even enter the Circa Survivor contest. Shame on you. Don't feel that shame. Go make sure you make that happen now. And if you don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football, don't worry. Ultimate Contest Weekend is a great time to go out, hang with Ryan and Sean, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August the 24th. And you can use promo code SGP15 to save 15% on your hotel room for sign-up weekend. Go sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with a proxy. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save $50 when you use promo code SGP. You don't need a proxy for Cody's Connor parlay do you?
The Connor and Connor law offices are presenting you this Connor and Connor parlay. So we are going to parlay Connor Zilisch and Connor Hall, both to get in the top 5, plus 1460. I actually like that. This is also, as I am notorious, says, LOL, I made Cody think. You did make me think. You made me think that we should look into parlaying more when we give these bets out too. So yeah, I might have to put that in the lab and get to that. Laura as well, a boxed exacta, LOL. That's the terminology we're looking for.
That's the horse racing TGen right there.
I've not watched enough horse racing lately. Luckily, Laura has our back.
She does indeed. You know who else has our back? Grant Enfinger. Grant Enfinger is my next bet. I am going to pick him. Caesars has, Bet365 has him in Group A. I'm going to take him to win at plus 230. He is the favorite to win this, but that's okay because plus 230 I think is a really good price for a guy like Grant Enfinger to win this group. Who else is in this group? Well, the aforementioned Connor Zilisch and Caden Honeycutt. Both of those guys are in this group. It's not that we don't think that Zilisch and or Honeycutt will have a good day. And we already talked about the limitations of what kind of a day we think Honeycutt's going to have. Even if Connor Zilisch gets in the top 5, Grant Enfinger, and Cody will talk about this in a little bit too, he can win this race. If he wins this race, he's going to win this group, right? So there's no question that way. But when you look at Grant Enfinger's last few starts, and how he's finished in them, right? A 3rd place at IRP, a 2nd at Pocono, a 6th at Nashville, 17th at Gateway. I'll throw that away because it doesn't support my argument, but a 3rd at Charlotte, a 2nd at North Wilkesboro. Those are some solid starts. We're talking 5 out of 6 starts that have been in and around the top 5, most of those inside the top 3. Connor Zilisch is going to have to get inside the top 3, in my opinion, to beat Grant Enfinger, especially on this particular track where he is the only active truck driver with a win on this track right now. He's got 4 top 10s. Every single race that he started on this particular track, he has gotten himself a top 10 finish, including a win in 2020. So he had a win, and this is in the 98 truck. He got a win in the 98 truck, 8th place in the 98 truck, 4th in the 23, 9th in the 23 last season as well. Of course, it took him a while to heat up. We were waiting for that 9 truck to catch fire. Well, not literally catch fire. I'm not waiting for any truck to catch fire, but we were waiting for that 9 truck to get faster. Let's put it that way. And it has. And he's definitely been one of the drivers that has picked it up lately, and he's just definitely performing at the highest level possible. And when you have a driver like that who's had success on this track, always a top 10, and it's not as if he's been driving through the field either. He started fast too. He started 5th in 2020, 3rd in 2022, 5th in 2022. The only time that he actually started outside of the top 10 was last season in 13th. So he qualifies fast. He runs fast. Now he's on a heater. I mean, I don't think these couple of weeks have cooled him down. I think that's just giving him more fire to get out there and to perform better. So, like I said, you'll talk through it later, but I think Grant Enfinger, even if Zilisch takes a top 5, even if Riggs takes the top 5, which I don't think is going to happen. Oh, you got him down there? Oh, you do. You're going to
my next bet, Rod. Jeez.
Fine. Even if both of those guys take a top 5, I just think a 2nd place or a win is in his card. So give me Grant Enfinger to win Group A on 365 at plus 230 over Zilisch, Riggs, and Honeycutt.
Yeah, I like this one. I'm all in on Grant Enfinger this week, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. This is a bit of a tough group. I'm not as concerned about Honeycutt again. I think he'll have a decent day, but I'm not afraid he's going to finish up in the top 5 like these other guys are. I could easily see Enfinger, Zilisch, Riggs, all top 5, top 7 guys. Do think Enfinger is the best of them. Plus 230, I think the number's big enough. I actually was about to put this in the doc, and then I noticed you had it, so I would have taken this one as well. So I think that's a great call by you. And despite thinking that maybe Enfinger will beat Riggs, I do think that Riggs could be a top 5 driver again this week. Rod, plus 250 over on Bet365 for Lane Riggs. Look, the sample size with Riggs is not huge, right? We've had this season. It's been documented. It's been pretty rough, especially for what we expect the 38 car to be. But what do we say about the short, flat type of drivers? Like, they show up on these types of tracks time and time again, and Lane Riggs is one of those guys. 5th place at IRP last time out. 3rd place at North Wilkesboro earlier this season. 3rd place at IRP last season. Again, we don't have a massive sample size. He's not raced here at Richmond yet, but He shows up on these short flat tracks. He's good. And this is the types of places where you want to get in on rigs. We were in on him at IRP. I think it was the same number, plus 250. We're very close to that for the top 5. He just squeaked in the top 5. I expect him to be kind of top 5, top 7, 8 all day, and right on the edge of that top 5. Again, this is a guy I'd love to have a top 10. Even if the top 10 was minus 120, I would hammer the fuck out of that. But we don't get that. So give me Riggs top 5 at plus 250 over on Bet365.
And honestly, that's the only thing I just wish there was a top 10. I would definitely take the top 10. Top 5s, they're forcing us to do this because that's all they're giving us, right? And so we have to pick a side of one of these. And I guess if we're going to pick a side of Riggs, we're going to say that he finishes closer and inside the top 5 than he does to 10th or 7th.
And I mean, again, 5th at IRP, 3rd at IRP last year, 3rd at North Wilkesboro. Like, he can finish inside the top 5 because he's done it multiple times, and you're still getting a good number at plus 250. Much shorter than that, I don't know that I would take it, but the number's right for what he's capable of doing.
Indeed. Another guy that I wish there was a top 10 on, because even at plus, 250 or 275, whatever this would be, I would definitely take this, and that is Tyler Ankrum. Tyler Ankrum plus 450 for a top 5. Again, it's because I have to pick a side of this. If there's a top 10, I take a top 10. But I think Tyler Ankrum has top 5 upside, given that he's already done it a couple of times on this track, in particular in the 26 truck. He did get a 5th place finish in 2020, a 3rd place finish in 2021. 16 truck has not been kind to him on this track, a 13th and a 13th, so a couple of 13th place finishes on this. But I will say that Tyler Ankrum over the last couple of weeks in this 18 has actually done what we hoped he would do, right? But overall this season, not necessarily that bad too. It took him a second, right? It took him a second in the middle of the season. He kind of slumped off a little bit after a pretty decent start. 11th at Daytona, 7th in Atlanta, 2nd at Vegas, 5th at Bristol, and then a 25th at Texas, 5th at Martinsville, 34th in Texas, 25th at Coda, 34th at Texas, 20th at Kansas, 26th at Darlington. But over the last 3 races, a 5th place at Nashville, a 4th place start at Pocono. Unfortunately, he finished 14th in that one, but 3rd place at IRP, or 3rd place start at IRP, finished 4th. So 2 of the last 3 races have been top 5 finishes for Ankrum. Maybe he's gotten something figured out. Maybe he's doing something to get better a little bit. Maybe this break is going to continue that momentum for him as well. Like I said, he's already turned in 2 top 5 finishes on this track. I'm hoping a 3rd one is in the cards, and I'm hoping that he extends his top 5 finishes to 3 out of the last 4. Because at plus 450, that's a hell of a number. I mean, we know that Tyler Ankrum is fully capable of being that guy. So I just really hope he's that guy this week, and especially at plus 450.
Yeah, this is a good number for a fast truck. Again, one of those McAnally Hilgeman trucks. And you laid out the case perfectly with Ankrum. Like, he started the season out pretty hot, cooled off for a while, but he's starting to pick that steam back up. We just saw it recently at IRP. He's done it before at Richmond, where he's been pretty decent. And I think the number is correct on this. Now, again, we're giving out a lot of top 5s. I get that. But they're not all going to finish in the top 5. That's how this works. You're playing all of the right numbers. You got the longer shot in the Hall at plus 750. You've got this one that's a longer shot. You've got some shorter ones. You want a combination of those guys to finish in there. You end up on the day, right? Somebody was talking about earlier this week. I can't remember who it was, but sometimes you only hit 3 of 10 bets, but hitting those 3 bets puts you. NASCAR is it's so different from betting on a lot of other sports where you can hit less bets or a smaller percentage of your bets, but still come out on the positive side of things. That's why you're trying to build this card properly. But yeah, I think you laid out a great case for Ankrum. He's in a fast truck. And, we can get both sides of them, but at this number, it's very worth it, in my opinion. Somebody that doesn't have 2 sides, Rod, he's only got 1 side. That's Christian Eckes. Top 3 numbers, minus 120 over on DraftKings. Don't care how short it is. You've got to get in on Christian Eckes. Rod, the last 4 races in a row have all been podium finishes for Christian Eckes. He continues to show up and be fast. 15 races into the season, 9 top 5 finishes for Christian Eckes. He's running away with the points championship. By the way, we didn't mention that at the top of the show. This is the final race of the regular season for the Truck Series. I think Eckes has to finish like 28th or something, and then he wraps up the championship. So he's likely got that in his pocket. But listen to these finishes on comparable tracks to Richmond. IRP, second place. That was last race out, right? Gateway, second place. Martinsville, win. Bristol, win. Phoenix last season, win. Milwaukee last year, third place. Bristol, third place. IRP last year, second place. He was 11th place last year in this race, was fourth in both stages. I can't remember what happened to him late in that race, but he was consistently running fourth place all day. Ends up with the 11th place finish. I don't remember if he was on the same tire strategy as Majeski was maybe, or whatever the case was. But don't care, because Christian Eckes last year to Christian Eckes this year is completely different, even though he still had all those great finishes last year. It's been the Eckes and Heim show all season, and that's going to continue this weekend with one other guy in the mix that we'll talk about in a little bit. But Eckes is going to be in the top three at the end of the day, barring an accident, because that's where he is every single week. It's minus 120, not the sexiest number in the world, but he's a guy you can rely on. He's going to be there. Give me Christian Eckes top three at minus 120.
Well, I can't argue with you on that one, because I'm about to bring up the other guy in that conversation with another unsexy number. But this is the way I am not confident, and I'm checking yours. I am not confident that this is Corey Heim's race to win this week. We were so confident a couple of weeks ago, and he came out and then he didn't win the race, right? I mean, this was like,
we were kind of against him.
Well, that's right.
At IRP.
Yeah, at IRP. We weren't necessarily sold on him, but there was a lot of people that were. Obviously, he was the favorite, I think, at that point. So
yeah, I believe so.
17th. So here's what I'm going to do. Corey Heim, if you look at him in some places, he's plus 400 to win, plus 350 in other places. And so, yeah, okay. But I'm much more confident of a top three finish for Corey Heim. Minus 110 is not that big a number, considering that he should probably be more for a top three finish. So I'm going to take Corey Heim, top three, minus 110. And it's only because it's top five number. I didn't even look. I didn't even want to look, because I know it's going to be nuked. But I think a top three finish obviously is there for him. Why? Well, it's Corey Heim. He's got 5 wins this season in 15 races. He's won, I don't know the math, but one third of the races that he's been in this season. Talk about top three finishes: a second at Daytona, third at Atlanta, third at Vegas, second at Texas, third at Nashville, right? With wins at Pocono, Gateway, North Wilkesboro, Kansas, Coda. I mean, I don't know if I need to go on much more about Corey Heim, only to say that a minus 110, well, like we said before, we always get spoiled with these numbers in NASCAR where it's plus money and pretty decent plus money. But this is one where you can lay a little juice and still walk away a winner, in my opinion, unless something crazy happens like it did at IRP last week. But that's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. We have not seen that happen 2 weeks in a row to Corey Heim, right? I mean, even when he finished 28th at Darlington, there were wins wrapped around that. A win at Kansas and a win in North Wilkesboro. Even when he had a 36th place finish at Charlotte, he came back the next week.
Which was a second place finish, but he got DQ'd for lug nuts. So.
Exactly. So, I mean, even though he did
to the point of him, he was still good that day, but that stupid lug nut rule got him disqualified. So, yeah, you can't argue against this, right? I think we are less in love with Heim on the shorter tracks, because it's been a lot of Eckes on the short tracks this year. It's been some Majeski as well. And I think those two guys are going to be really tough this weekend. I think they're both going to be very strong. And I think Heim lacks off a little bit on these tracks, but he won North Wilkesboro too, not that long ago. Again, short, flat track. So you definitely can't count Heim out at any point in time. And I'm not going to argue with the top three finish. I feel more comfortable with the Eckes one, just because I think for sure Eckes is going to be there, but I can't argue that Heim will not be there. So I do not think that that's a bad bet by any means. Another bet that I love, Rod, I know it's another top five, but great number on Grant Enfinger, plus 160 for Grant Enfinger over on Bet365. He won this. DM Punk checking in. Heim over on MGM, plus 100 for the top three. So yes, even better number. We're going to change Rod's official pick to that. Thank you, DM Punk. Appreciate you and your line shopping. That always helps us out. Grant Enfinger, Rod, top five, plus 160. Won on this track in 2020. In 2021, he led 71 laps here. Fourth and eighth place finishes the last 2 seasons. Last year, a little bit of an asterisk there. They had announced GMS was closing. It seemed like they were picking and choosing where they were taking the good stuff to, right? And so 8th place finish, yeah, whatever, but that doesn't concern me at all. In the last 6 races, 4 top 3 finishes for Grant Enfinger. You talked about it earlier. The season started out a little rough. We weren't sure with this CR7 team, this 9 truck, how are they going to do? It seemed kind of crazy that Enfinger went here and not to a better team. What we're going to get from them? Started the season pretty rough. Oh, what's going on? But over the last 6 races, 4 top 3 finishes. They've got that bad boy dialed in. 3rd place last week, or last time out at IRP, led 71 laps. 2nd place at North Wilkesboro, which we just talked about Heim winning a few minutes ago. Great run for him there. 6th place at Phoenix last fall in that final race for GMS, still showed up fast. 5th at Bristol last year. Won the Milwaukee Mile, another shorter, flatter track, right? 3rd place at Bristol last season. Won Gateway last season. Grant Enfinger has been on fire lately. Not literally on fire, like you mentioned earlier, but figuratively on fire. It's been really strong runs from him. Plus 160, a great for Enfinger. Considered his top 3 number, which was also pretty decent. I don't have that pulled up right in front of me, but I think at plus 160 for the top 5, you just take that. You get those extra 2 spots of insurance, and I like that for Enfinger at plus 160.
So BetMGM, Grant Enfinger, plus 310 for a top 3 there. I'm looking at the plus 250 on Caesars. So you BetMGM, man. This is one of those books that I never look at for NASCAR because I'm usually not there.
Yeah, generally, like when we're doing shows, they seem to have good stuff like later in the week usually, but yeah, a lot of times they don't have stuff up, and so sometimes I sort of even forget to look at them. But yeah, great call by DM Punk there.
On my my bookmarks tab, but I just always seem to skip right over them. All right, so I was going to put in winning manufacturer in this one, and then I thought Toyota was pretty good at plus 320. But then I was like, nah, because the only Toyota we're taking would be Corey Heim, and you might as well just bet him at plus 350 or plus 400, depending on where you get it. Because I'm not really sold on any other Toyota making a run at a win. So I said, screw that. So I'm going to take the winning car number and take this one 0 through 9 at plus 400. I know Cody's really high, obviously, like we said, on Grant Enfinger. So that's kind of the anchor of this 0 through 9. But look, if William Sawalich finds a way to win this race, you got coverage on that. And then Nick Sanchez is in that as well, and Connor Zilisch. So those 3 decent size or decent cars out there for wins. Now you could break that up and just put that on their outrights altogether if you wanted to do that. But I do think that plus 400, so 4-1 for this number range is actually a pretty good double down if you really, don't want to break up anything and put it on their outrights, because to me, I think Grant Enfinger wins it, but I'm going to make a case for another guy in this range as well. So I think if you're doubling down on that range of drivers, 0 through 9 is where it's at. Because I'll tell you, looking at the other ranges, 10 through 19 plus 115, and then 20 to 29 is 100 to 1. So if you really believe in any of those trucks between 20 and 29, which is nobody. Ty Dillon,
just Venmo me if you want to place that bet.
Yeah, you might as well just put a bet on Ty Dillon. That would be your
There's going to be 36 trucks in you could have 30 trucks wreck out of this race, and nobody in that range would win.
Nobody in that range. Mason Maggio, no. And then 30 plus is minus 115. Obviously, that covers your Thor Sports, a couple of your Thor Sport ones, the 98, 99, and those guys in that range. So, yeah, I just think 0 to 9 is a good comfy range in there. So at 4-1,
picking the number range without Eckes, Heim, or Majeski, pretty ballsy on Rod's part, but I don't hate it. I think there is a couple of guys in there. Love me some Grant Enfinger as well, so I think that's not a bad call. Nick Fortune checking in. Good afternoon, Hot Rod and Sir Cody. Is it Jack Wood betting time? Well, Nick, Jack Wood is not in this race, but Jack Wood's truck is in this race. And we do have a top 5 bet on Mr. Connor Hall, plus 750. And then he's involved in the Connor and Connor parlay at plus 1460. So make sure you go back and check out the reasoning behind those. All right, Rod, without further ado, on to the outright market. I am going to take. So the way I put this in here, I'm giving out Ford as my official pick at plus 190 to win this race. Because Ty Majeski is at plus 200. for a 10-point discount. You might as well get all the Fords just in case somebody else wins. You know, it could be Mason Maggio or Keith McGee. Okay, probably not, but Lane Riggs maybe on an outside chance. Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton, Jake Garcia. I get it. Probably none of these guys are going to win, but for 10 points, why not just cover yourself in case? Ty Majeski's the real pick at 2-1. If you don't have the manufacturer option, just go bet on Ty Majeski. This is a Ty Majeski week. Talked about him yesterday on the DFS show. All in on Ty Majeski this week. After what we saw at IRP, where the piano fell out of the sky, he had the issues, yet came back and still got it done in just an absolute fast, dominating truck. You can't take much away from him there. He's really, really good on these short, flat tracks. As long as nothing goes wrong, which is always a risk with him, Ty Majeski should be the best truck out there. 2 starts here. Started P1 in 2022, led 2022, yes. Started P1, led 73 laps, first and fourth in the stages, third place overall. 2023 started P1 as well, led 168 laps, swept both the stages. If you remember, that was that weird tire race where he stayed out. He was the only guy who stayed out. Carson Hocevar ran him unlapped himself all the way back around, got Majeski with a few laps to go, despite Majeski's crew chief telling him he'd be fine the whole time. So he ends up finishing P2, but really was the best truck on the day, hands down. Dominant last week at Indy. 4th at Gateway not long ago, led 43 laps there. 11th at North Wilkesboro, but he did lead 50 laps. He was 2nd at Martinsville, where he led 66 laps. Short flats, Majeski. He's the favorite this week, but I think he is the one to go with. So give me him at plus 200. But if you can take Ford at plus 190 or a close enough number, you might as well, just in case somebody else gets it done. No reason to not have insurance that is that cheap, Rod. Also, Grant Enfinger, 11-1 over on Caesars. We've talked about him throughout the entire show. Absolutely love him this week. And Taylor Gray at 50-1. The number's just too big for Taylor Gray. That's kind of the thought process here. I'm not, Taylor Gray is just going to be so good here. We've seen some flashes on shorter tracks. 6th place at Martinsville, 7th at Bristol. He was 6th here in 2022, well before he's the Taylor Gray we know now. He can put himself in position, be there at the end. You're going to need some help, right? The Majeski piano is going to have to fall to the sky. Maybe Heim or Eckes have an issue. Gray is going to be in the top 10 at the end of the day, maybe even the top 5. Have himself in position to have a chance. And that's what you're looking for a guy that's 50-1.
And I mean, look, if it does start to pick up in rain and maybe they're playing a strategy where they're staying out if there's rain, and it's just, there's a lot of different things that can happen this weekend that can make a guy like Taylor Gray, especially because we think he's going to be running around the front, have the opportunity to win a race. So I like it. They're a crafty enough team to get it done. Can't argue with Enfinger. I mean, we're back on Majeski, so let's be back on Majeski. That's fine. As far as Ford is concerned, that's again, this manufacturer bet, I wanted to take Toyota, but I couldn't pull the trigger on it. So, and Chevy's number is meh, but again, if you're going to bet Chevy, you can bet the guy that you want to win outright on that, which I'm going to give out Nick Sanchez at 28-1, bet 365. Look, 28-1 is a huge number for a guy that's already won a couple of races this season, right? This is his best track. Not really, because he's only been on it once, but he did get an 8th place finish out of that one time that he's been out there. It's been a very hit or miss season for Sanchez, right? He's got 10 top 10 finishes in 15 starts, 7 top 5s in those 2 wins. The last 3 races for Sanchez, kind of iffy, right? 13th at Nashville, 13th at Pocono, 10th at IRP, but before that, 3rd at Gateway. He won Charlotte, 7th at North Wilkesboro, 2nd at Darlington after starting on the pole, 6th at Kansas, 3rd at Texas after starting on the pole, 4th at Martinsville, and then, 5th in Atlanta and a win at Daytona. But, look, if anybody from outside of that range of Enfinger, of Majeski, of Heim, are going to get a win at this, I think I was on Nick Sanchez a little bit too in the last few weeks, but it feels like he's due for another one. And that 2 truck is not bad. And at 28-1, that's a hell of a number for a guy that's been running somewhere around the top 5 most of the season.
Yeah, again, you're probably going to need a little bit of help, but number's big enough. He's in a fast enough truck. He's a good enough driver. Again, if this ends up being some type of strategy, if weather comes into play, put yourself in the right position. They're the type of team that can do that, even though they just had to pay like $105,000 in their lawsuit lost to Kyle Busch Motorsports. But I'm sure their truck's still fine.
I was gonna say, what does that mean? That there's a lug nut missing on the tire because they couldn't pay for one? I don't
sure hope not, Rod.
I hope not either. That's for sure.
Expensive ass lug nut, Jesus.
Well, hey, listen, these are precision machines, man. They only have if my AC costs me like $800, then that's a lug nut.
True. Okay,
So,
you got a point.
all right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our bets for this Clean Harbors 250 from the Richmond Raceway. Cody started you out with Connor Zilisch over Caden Honeycutt at -125 over on Caesars. I said that Tay Shifty Gray was going to finish better than William Sawalich at -110. I'm sorry, -115. Don't want to make up numbers over on Caesars. Cody said that Connor Hall would be a top 5 car at +750 over on Bet365. And then we tossed in the Connor and Connor parlay of top 5s at +1460 for both of those to hit. I said Grant Enfinger would win Group A over on Bet365 at +230 over Connor Zilisch, Lane Riggs, and Caden Honeycutt. Cody said that Lane Riggs would be a top 5 car at +250 over on Bet365. I said Tyler Ankrum would be a top 5 car at truck at +450. And then Cody said that Christian Eckes would be a top 3 car at -120 over on DK. I said Corey Heim would be a top 3 car. We found a better number. So even money, +100 over on BetMGM. Cody said Grant Enfinger would be a top 5 car at +160 over on Bet365. I said that the winning car number would be between 0 and 9 at +400. Cody said that Ford would win at +190 and gave Majeski at +200 if you wanted to go that route. Enfinger at 11-1 on Caesars, Tay at 50-1. And then I said Nick Sanchez at 28-1 over on Bet365. Cody, you must be in the movie Wreck-It Ralph because
The books are scared, Rod. Big Gambling's coming after me. They're fucking with my camera, trying to take me off the air for giving you all these great picks. They can't stop us. Sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on, but that'll happen. So luckily we've made it to the end, and one more day. We got some Cup Series DFS coming for you tomorrow, and then Saturday night under the lights, short track racing, the way it was intended to be. Gotta love it. Excited for this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, Rod, you can follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my stuff there. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. Make sure you check us out over on YouTube. You can see my crazy wonky camera over there and Rod's beautiful face, which is really the main attraction. And other than that, see you guys tomorrow.
Indeed. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I got going on, whether it's here or whether it's in between media. Make sure you check out the Back Road tonight. Seth and Elliot and company are holding it down for you. And guess what? It's football season, baby. Niners playing this weekend. Can't wait to watch that. And of course, the
Patriots play tonight, I think. Shit.
Red Blacks play tonight, so I'm going to be watching some CFL football tonight, in addition to cornhole. So, get down on that too. There's a link in my bio to where you can find all my fun cornhole bets for this weekend. So, come back tomorrow with DFS. And in the meantime, let's go racing and let it ride.